Good afternoon, everyone. If you're in the UK, good morning. If you're still stateside, as we are, welcome to our villa in San Diego. We're out of the hotel now. We are in a villa. I could go and show you our pool and all the rest of it, but unfortunately, it is far too bright for this camera to see me, and also for me to see the chat and actually chat to you guys and see what's going on and see my screen and everything and read my notes. So, alas, we are doing it inside. I might try and run outside in a little bit just to see if it still works out there. It should do because I think it's Bluetooth the way it's connected. So we'll see if I'm able to do that in a little bit. And maybe we'll do another live from here tomorrow, maybe a little bit later when it's maybe going a little bit darker, and we will see it. But cheers for tuning, everyone. Let me know what you thought about the game last night. Let me know where you're watching the game tonight, and we'll see what the script is. But first, let's talk about Rasmus Højlund. It seems like talks have actually started getting serious, and there's this weird thing that's happened lately with transfers where the bid is the last thing. The player gets sounded out, personal terms get floated, they get agreed, the club gets sounded out, and then when the official bid goes in, it's almost like a formality. We're at the official bid stage, it seems, now with Rasmus Højlund. Fabrizio Romano gave us an update earlier, and he said, Man United are in advanced talks and have sent the first verbal proposal to Atalanta for Rasmus Højlund for €60 million. Bid structure is 50 million fixed, plus 10 million in add-ons. And Ornstein's backed him up and said, United make a verbal offer for Atalanta. Atalanta wants 70 million. Personal terms are in place. Talks are ongoing. Optimism of striking a deal. Other options if needed. PSG still in the race. That's interesting, isn't it? Let's see what you guys are saying in the comments. Ratchet says, how's things? Pretty tired, but I'm all right, thank you. Kyle says, shout out from Montana. Daniel says, 10 million difference in valuation. Should get sorted pretty quickly. Yeah, I get that as well. That's happy days. Ralph says, it seems Italian football is on the up. All of our targets, including Kim, are from Serie A. Yeah, fair. IR says, we'd be lucky to get a fiver for McFred, but we can dream. I mean, that's one way of looking at it, actually. I'm thinking about this. Italian football could be, but you could argue, there's been cycles of everyone buying players from Germany, from Spain, from Holland. It is what it is, I guess. Chris says, watching from Chiang Mai in Thailand, love the US games. No 2 a.m. kickoffs for me for a change. Brian says, all right, how does pre-season compare to previous ones I've been on? Well, the only foreign one that I did was Australia, Singapore. I'm drinking a lot less than I was on that one by magnitudes. But they're just as hectic. They're not fun. I mean, the experience as a sort of whole is loads of fun. But there is literally no time to do anything. Literally no time to do anything. The getting to the press conference is a little bit of a hurry up and wait element to it. You're kind of waiting on United to do this. You're kind of waiting on travel to do this. It seems like it's super busy without being super productive. We are cracking out as much video and content as we can, which obviously is a little bit productive, but it's one of those. John's got a comment here. So I've had quite a few messages from people that have been complaining about the fact United put an under-21 team out against Wrexham. I don't know if the advertising was different in the UK versus the US, but when the game was announced, it was announced with the academy players in the photograph. So my understanding was this was always going to be an academy game. Also, look at who we're playing. Arsenal and Wrexham and Borussia Dortmund. Wrexham are a League Two, newly promoted League Two side, recently National Conference. So I always expected this to be a rotated side. Like I said, I don't know what the advertising was like in the US. If the US sort of give it something a little bit different, then yeah, that's wrong. But my take on this was it was always going to be an academy side that featured in this. Joel says, I think Scott will go for around 30 and 17 for Fred. We're going to get Rasmus for 65. Dan says they announced a young outfit. Well, they delivered on that, didn't they? Max says, I was at the game, didn't care the 21s, played, had a great time. Happy days. IR says the Twitter announcement for the Wrexham game months ago said it would be Academy kids. Did it? Oh, okay then. Sam says, even if he don't sign Amrabat for whatever reason, kind of feels good that he rejected Liverpool, doesn't it? Yeah, there was some sort of Liverpool fans in my comments this morning on the back of him us saying that. Michael says, Buongiorno, greetings from Blighty. First time comment, long time watcher. Thoughts of the Wrexham game? Much what I was expecting, to be fair. Yeah, agreed, to be honest. The one of PP says in the States the game got promoted by Ryan and the sunny Philadelphia guy talking to Sir Alex. I saw that as well. Yeah, we saw that too. Moquete says, and we couldn't play 2 games in 2 days. I think what people are kicking off about is that the Real Madrid game wasn't announced until a lot later. So I think people probably assumed, but like I said, the only footage I ever saw was academy kids in the photograph of it. Jamie says, do I think Hannibal gets first team this season or another loan? Really hard to say. Like, I think we discussed this yesterday on 5 things. Basically, you've got, out of that side that played last night, probably Hannibal and Alvaro that looked like they were closest to being ready for first team. And arguably, Hannibal looked the more sort of qualified for first team. But with academy players, it's a lot of luck and a lot of circumstance in how they get their game time. So if you've got a player, the perfect example is the twins, right? Rafael and Fabio da Silva. Rafael was behind an aging Gary Neville who was injured all the time. And Fabio was behind an absolute bulletproof Paddy Evra. So Rafael ends up playing 100 games, I think, before Fabio plays 10. And therefore, his development goes in one trajectory and Fabio's development goes in another trajectory. And it was Fabio who's the more highly rated one. So there's a lot of luck involved in when academy players can get their minutes. And I think Hannibal being behind Mount, behind Bruno, probably behind Donny, is going to have a tougher time to get minutes than Alvaro because there's a very, very clear way that Alvaro gets minutes. Malacia is injured. He probably gets put on the bench because Malacia is injured. And if Luke Shaw gets moved inside or needs a night off or he gets injured, there's Alvaro straight into the team. Eden says, the only thing confirmed yesterday is that our away kit is pucker. Still not a fan of it, mate. I do like the white one, though, because I don't know if I'm just thinking it's got vibes of the 1991 kit. But I do like the white one, which I don't think's out yet, although I have seen people rocking it. John says Ten Hag keeps them. I think he might, yeah, especially if he starts letting some of the older lot go. Nick B says, prediction for this season, Sancho will play more games as a false 9 than on the wing. Maybe. Yeah, I was sort of tossing the idea around the other day that we might be seeing United move to having a false 9 system to maybe dominate the ball in certain games where we want more control and more possession. And that's obviously going to lead to a lack or less of penetration, but it will mean more control. And it's obviously whatever Ten Hag favours and requires in each particular game. Damien says, last Vegas game is far from sold out. I'm going though. Oh, is that a fact? I didn't know that. Joshua says, I still believe the conspiracy theory Sir Alex used to swap the twins at halftime for a free sub. I would love it if that was the case. I guess I could find out off a particular person if that ever happened, but I don't know if he'd ever let me go public with it if he give me the answer. But that'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? And do you know what? Sometimes it's better to have the sexy lie than the boring truth, isn't it? The sexy lie that they might have done that I like that. And maybe we just keep it and we don't want to go there and get our chips pissed on. So maybe I won't ask it. And maybe we'll just roll with it and pretend that was the thing that happened. Nick Collins with a super chat says, not sure if you've seen, but reports are stating that Suzuki's rejected United to focus on the Olympics, but that United will still try and convince him. Yes, I did see that. And I quite like the attitude from the kid because I think a lot of people, as soon as United come in, will just leap at the chance and not think about the consequences for their own career if they're not playing. Obviously, you've got Onana. You've still got Tom Heaton, although I'm not sure how certain it is that he sticks around looking at the number of goalkeepers on the club books. Obviously, Kovar, we expect to go on loan. That's surely going to be getting confirmed soon. Dean Henderson currently is a Manchester United player, although we all expect him to leave, and we'll talk about him in a second. So when Suzuki's looking at this, he's like, what? So I go from being first choice, playing every week, to not playing. What's the point? And I think maybe he's got a bit of a point. Damien says the Las Vegas game is going to be half empty. That's crazy if true, isn't it? In a place like Las Vegas as well, where there's a lot of people. And Zuzo says, besides Højlund, do I think Balogun would have been a worthwhile consideration? Arsenal was never going to give him you. Grant says, this is unrelated, but I never catch you live since I live in the US. Thank you for telling me to do some unsolicited analytics to help me get into football. I'm now the analyst for my D1 school team. Brilliant. Well done, mate. Brylan says, how bad was the tackle, Steve? From my review, seemed really bad. The tackle, you mean the collision with Nathan Bishop and Paul Mullen? Yeah, it was bad. I mean, the gaffer came out to the mix zone afterwards and he weren't happy. I mean, I couldn't completely understand it. Even if it's an accident, even whether it's accident, whether it's deliberate, whatever it was, whether it gets, even if it got sent off, it doesn't fix his lung, does it? And that a punctured lung is a hell of a recovery. There was some people in the comments that said, because I don't know anything about it, but I can imagine, look, you got the, I assume, broken rib, or if not, certainly damaged ribs, hence why you punctured a lung. And then the way lungs work, like they're a sensitive little thing, and for someone that needs cardio, for someone that needs to be breathing heavy, someone that needs to be physical and put themselves around, we might not see him this side of Christmas, playing 90 at least. He might get back out on a training pitch, but it might take a minute for him to really, really get back to full fitness, and that's a madness. Anyway, let's get back onto the other one. So Scott McTominay, I covered this on the news last night for Paddock, and it's kind of getting into a few places now, and that's United have slapped a £40 million asking price on Scott McTominay, and he's wanted by West Ham, and I think that's a good price. I think that is a good price, and David Moyes clearly wants him. I could see both McTominay and Maguire going to West Ham and both doing really well there. But West Ham got to pay, and we know they got 100 million burning a hole in their pocket. So there ain't no low ball bids going in here. And both Maguire and McTominay, whether they're the right fit for United or not, they're still experienced Premier League players, and they deserve to be paid as much or bought for as much. Jeff says, doing the Paddock meet up with Wes Brown, then watching my first live first team match. So geeked, awesome. I love UK Garage says, gutted for how things have gone for Donny. Really wish it worked out for him, but it isn't going to get game time. If he can find somewhere that gives him game time and confidence, he needs to take it. He might be better suited going back to Eredivisie and just completely restarting again and seeing what happens. Dan says, if Gallagher's been rejected for 40 million, Scott must be worth the same. Tabasco says, not think Ward-Prowse would be a good bench player. Yes, I do. But if the manager's not interested or we've been quoted a crazy fee, then it makes sense in my opinion. Michael says, cheers for the readout. My kids will love that. Off topic, what's the news on my motor insurance battle? I think I've been stiffed. They've refused to pay out on all the interior stuff, so I'm getting stiffed on it, I think. There was a couple of cameras, a lot of hiking gear, and a lot of through dark gear. And a coat that I can't buy anymore, which I'm fucking well annoyed about. So Dean Henderson, talks remain ongoing with United and Forest over a deal for him. It will be a loan move with an obligation to buy. That's sound. That's money that can just go straight into the kitty, isn't it? And it gets Dean Henderson off the books. I don't think he had any sort of hope of having it. Logan with a super chat says, hey Steve, who from Paddock is in Houston? Can't wait to see United for the first time tonight up the Paddock. Jay and Joe have gone. They left here 3 hours ago or so. So they'll be in Houston quite shortly. Jay's just geeking out over getting to go to Dealey Plaza to see where the JFK assassination happened. I have no idea what Joe's doing. Probably wearing socks and a polo neck because he's fucking weird. Daniel says, Amrabat will be perfect for us. Daniel says, fingers crossed Maguire goes. Nick says, love how everyone's losing their mind over the Saudi League. We're still going to watch the Reds every week regardless. I'm thinking about doing a bit of a deep dive on not just the Saudi League, but like what the future of football could look like in the next 5 years, because I think FIFA are going to try and push something with the World Club Cup. FIFA and UEFA don't get on, and the Champions League is the pinnacle of football across the world. It's a higher standard of competition than the World Cup, which doesn't really make sense logically, but it is. It is a higher standard than the World Cup. The teams at the top in the Champions League would absolutely destroy all international teams, including France, I think. And I think FIFA would like some of that shine back, and I think that's why you're seeing an expanded 32-team World Club Cup. And I think that you will see a further developments on that. And I think the way the MLS is going with their leagues thing that they're doing with Mexico, I think what Saudi are trying to do with their national league, I think you might see a couple more leagues try and take a piece of the pie. And on the very surface of it, I like it. I mean, I don't necessarily like the way Saudi are going about it, but I like the fact that football is a global game. It's played by every continent and every single nation in the world. And I don't think there's another sport that comes close to the amount of competitors that football has on a global scale. But it's European-centric, and I don't really like that. I would genuinely imagine the Champions League and the big team sort of games that you get and the experiences that you get. Why should we only go to Kazakhstan in the Europa League and stuff like that? Imagine we went to fucking Casablanca. Imagine you was going to Buenos Aires for those games. The travel would be rough for sure, and I think that's why the World Club Cup currently, although I think that, again, I think that's where the extrapolation comes from, that's going to change. I can see it being something that really starts to capture the imagination, because right now the European teams, the Champions League teams, the last eight of the Champions League would be the last eight in a world competition. But wouldn't it be amazing if the likes of Inter Miami became good enough to compete with Premier League teams? Would it be great if Orlando Pirates from South Africa were is it not that, what are they called? It's not Orlando, is it? No, the South African team, Kaiser Chiefs. Sorry, why the fuck did I get Orlando Pirates from? Isn't there a Pirates from down there as well? Kaiser Chiefs. It would be good if they just fucking came and put it on Liverpool. Fucking meant what it. And not in like some mad friendly, but no, an actual competitive competition that meant something. They just fucking smashed it. Or that Urara Reds, fuck off, not saying that again. That they came and just fucking doshed out Chelsea. Like, how sick would that be? That'd be great. River Plate versus Real Madrid. Come on, man. This is what it's all about. Global game, but European centric. And it'd be better if it wasn't, wouldn't it? It'd be absolutely like fucking an away day in Egypt. Come on, man. That's fucking awesome. I would love that. Oh, apparently it is Orlando Pirates. See? I fucking did myself in there. I would love that. And maybe that's where football is going. And maybe that's what FIFA are trying to do with the World Club Cup thing. But I think a lot of people are asking the question, do we think Saudi are going to end up in trying to buy their way into UEFA? Makes no fucking sense for them to do that. Which is why I think that what you'll probably see is something that looks like the World Club Cup expansion, and the Saudi league teams will probably be pretty good, looking at who they're able to attract and the money that they're able to spend. Jonathan says, Steve, coming to Old Trafford for the first time ever to see a match, and I was wondering what my favourite fish and chip spot is. Also, it's nice to sign a striker under 30. That's true. Hip Hop Chip Shop in Ancoats. That's the best chippy in Manchester. Don't get yourself stuck into the mix of that. ML says it's great until you're no longer in the top percentile or the best. Nah, I think it's just great anyway. I genuinely think it's just great. Peter Isles says a World Super League then Steve. No, because I still think the problem with the Super League, right, wasn't the fact that it was going to be this global league. The problem with the Super League is that it was going to be heavily weighed to locking a load of like the founders were going to be forever founders that got to just stick around, and fucking Spurs was in it. Like, if it was a meritocracy competition like the Champions League is, I didn't necessarily have a drama with it. The Champions League kind of diluted stuff, but it ultimately ended up working by allowing 3 and 4 clubs per league to join it. But I think you'd probably get a better global game if maybe you went back to only 1 or 2 from each nation got to compete, but it was fucking global. The problem with the Super League was never about getting other nations to compete. The problem with the Super League is that it was a closed league, and it wasn't going to be a league that you could gain entry to, and it wasn't going to be a league that you could work hard and get into and compete at. Sport is all about competition, fair competition. If you can compete, then you get to play in whatever league and whatever competitions that you can find. And that's always been the case. And no one's ever had a problem with that. People have a problem with it when you go, actually, United and Barcelona, Real Madrid and Bayern Munich and AC Milan make shitloads of cash. Therefore, we'll make a league that's got them in it. But nah, not if they're not good enough. That's not how it works. If Brighton get in there, like, we're not going to let them in because they got like less Twitter followers than Spurs. Fuck that noise. You deserve to be on a meritocracy. And I think that there could be. I mean, at the moment, there's a bit of a scouting fest going on in South America because they're producing some really good players. Imagine they kept them. Argentina are world champions. All the players play in Europe. Imagine they all played in South America, not even just Argentina, but imagine they played like MLS, Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, Uruguay, and then somewhere in Europe. Imagine that. It'd be fucking wicked, wouldn't it? Am I sick of the word soccer yet? I don't really see it. No one really says soccer anyway. I haven't seen it at least anyway. How's the jet lag? Fucking killing us. Ronnie's suffering the most, I think, because he keeps getting up at fucking 4 or 5 a.m. All right, last two. So Amrabat, Italian news outlet GIFN, are saying Fiorentina have now left for Belgrade ahead of their pre-season friendly, and Amrabat is not part of the travelling party. It feels close with him. It does feel close, and it feels very, very straightforward. Red says, you moan about player welfare, yet want players now to travel the extra miles 3 times a week. Did I say anything about games 3 times a week? No. I just said about reducing the number of qualifiers in the Champions League and increasing the number of nations that qualify for it. Yeah, I'd happily get rid of international friendlies and have more club football that was like this. You extrapolated the extra part of fucking 3 times a week there, not me. Foot the League Cup off. Or foot the League Cup off. And someone had a really good idea in the comments last night, actually, saying make the early rounds of the League Cup a group stage and put like Premier League under 23s in it. I think that's a great idea. People who support Leyton Orient are probably going to fucking set fire to house for that. But yeah, I would like something like that. I don't know what the answer is to more competitive football for under 21s, but like I said last night, academy football not fit for fucking purpose. And finally, the last one that we've got then is Eric Bailly. Al Nassr are close to signing. Eric Bailly talks are ongoing. Daniel says, I think the game needs less games, less competitions, less travel, but it's not profitable to do so. Yeah, I can easily make a case that lines up with that, and I agree with you. But I also would like to see a global competition. I don't know what that looks like. Maybe you reduce the number of qualifications in the Champions League. Probably not. Maybe you have some sort of an early group stage qualifier, and then like all the semi-finalists from all the different continents go into a World Club Cup thing. I don't know. I ain't got the answers. I'm just saying. I would like it if it was a bit more balanced. Like if the world champions could be even across Europe. The champions across Europe only come from a handful of teams. It would be far better if it was like the likes of Ajax, the likes of Celtic, the likes of Porto were regularly competing for the Champions League. It'd be far better. You shouldn't be 3 leagues just sharing it. That's shite, isn't it? Craig says, what do I look or hope to see if I was a fan of the club that 115 charges against it? If my club had 115 charges against it, I would honestly resign from all competitions. I would want the FA to throw the book at me, and I would just completely fucking fold the club and fuck it off because it's clearly bent from top to bottom. The one of PP says it would be dope for the winners of the respective leagues to go into who is the best of the world, like Chivas versus United, LA versus Milan. Imagine Boca. Oh, the idea that they had in the 50s was the best idea. Call it the Champions Cup and just have the winners of the leagues. What a great new 80-year-old idea that is. You shouldn't be fucking calling yourself the best in the world when you come fourth. You shouldn't. The Champions League was great because it was the champions, and then they expanded it, and it was still great because it was, let's be honest, it was fucking top football, wasn't it? But I would love it if it leveled out the playing field and raised up some of the other nations so you could have a genuine bit of competition. Like, imagine Perth. Imagine Perth were like the fucking third best team in the world, and fuckers have got to go all the way to Perth. It'd be good. It would be good. Alex says, stay up, you're enjoying the tour. Constant weather changes. Is my body and immune system handling it? Yeah, it's just the sleep. It's fucking long ass days. I saw a comment saying I was bored on the news last night. No, I wasn't. I was yawning my bollocks off. I was tired. It was about my 10th video of the day, and it was 1 a.m. And we've been out all day. Checked out of a hotel. Checked into a new hotel. Went and did a meet-up. Watched the game. Fucking walked around the gaff. Did a media mix zone thing afterwards. It's just called tiredness. I wasn't bored. Fucking knackered. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. Cheers for joining us, those who could. We'll be live again later. Maybe we go live after the game. Not sure our movements yet, but we are watching the game later somewhere in San Diego. So I think the Shakespeare's been mentioned. So if you're in San Diego, probably see you in there. And we'll see you in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.